Welcome to my video comparing the KS1, which is on the left, which you can tell because it's got a, see the kind of brown emblem. The KS2 has the white one, so that's the key difference. I should have had one in white and black so it's more obvious. And also I was going to include the Lark in this video, but as mine is a earlier version and is not a representative of what you buy from a store or shop or anything like that, I didn't include it, so I've just kept the KS1, which is on the left, and the hybrid KS2 on the right. So the KS1, if you don't know, is a single dynamic driver, and then the KS2 is a single DD and a balanced armature, so it's a hybrid, so 1 DD, 1 BA and 1 DD. And yeah, just get into it. Basically the same build, same tips, same fit, comfort, exactly the same. So the only difference is sound. Obviously that's got a BA, so obviously that makes a difference. So sound, they're both V-shaped, but they both do it a bit different. It's probably the best way to describe it. So let's get both of these. As you can see, exactly the same. You know, it's just exactly the same. Connectors more transparent, but there was obviously a few months between. I had those in the early days of when that came out, and this is obviously an earlier KS1, so there's a good, I think, 8 months gap, maybe I might be wrong, but there's at least 8 months between them. But sound, let's start from the lows, is the KS2 are the bass of the pair, and of that the KS2 is more sub bass than the KS1. As you say, like I said, they're both V-shaped, so they do have both have elevated low end, but the KS2 just sounds like it's a bit more, just by design. They're both of sub bass. The KS2 has a bit more of it. I still want to say it's the really bass monsters. Like a bass monster I own is the Open Heart resin, and also the Blonde Cardinal. Like probably the Open Heart is like the bass monster, same as the Audio Sense AQ0. But anyway, back to these. But yeah, they're both obviously bassier V-shaped earphones, but the KS2 is a bit more than the one. Obviously in like electronic music you'll be able to tell the difference straight away, but the KS1 has a little bit less, and a little bit, it's still obviously elevated, but the KS2 is a bit more. Vocals, this is where they start to separate a bit. So the KS2, obviously with an armature, that its intended design is to do like mids and highs, and this obviously is trying to do, the KS1 is trying to do full range. So vocals, the KS2s are a bit more in your face, and it sounds a bit thinner. Like, I haven't seen a graph the KS1, so I'm only going by what I hear. And I've used the same tracks, same music, same audio adapter. So it's the best, like, apples to comparison. But the KS2 can sound a bit thin, so I guess it's more elevated than the KS1s are. The KS1 do have a little bit of elevation at the upper mids, but the KS2 has more so. The KS2 sounds thinner. It sounds it just sounds a little bit thinner with female vocals, and same a little bit with male. It sounds a little bit more realistic, shall we say, on the KS1s over there. But yeah, they're still obviously acceptable. They're not bad at all. It's a shame I didn't have a normal Lark, because that would have been a good comparison to the KS2s, because they're both hybrid designs. But yeah, vocals, I do prefer them on the KS1. It sounds a little bit more realistic. It's probably the best way to describe it. Instrument separation, I think, was a little bit better as well on the KS2s. So when there's a lot going on, or anything that's quite complex, because the armature is obviously doing its bit of work, it can do it a little bit better than the KS1. Not much though, just a little bit better. I think the sound stage was a little bit wide on the KS2s, Again, not really much, just a little bit. I kind of prefer overall the KS1s. It sounds a little bit more natural, it's probably the best way to describe it. Vocals sound a little bit more unnatural on the KS2, but as a benefit of the armature on the KS2, it is a more detailed earphone. It's a little bit brighter sounding. It's not massively different, it's a little bit different, but yeah, if you want a more detailed sound, the KS2 is probably the one to go more. It has a little bit more treble than the KS1. KS1 doesn't really roll off much really, but the KS2 is the brighter one. It is the more V-shaped one with the KS2. I love to see how these graph like side by side on this with the same equipment. But just going like from my experience, the KS1 is probably the one I would pick if you can both pick. And also bear in mind, I received both of these for review. That was from Keep Hi-Fi, and this was from KBEAR themselves. That's just my kind of opinion, but I do prefer the KS1, the newer one. I think the single DD is probably the one I prefer. It sounds a little bit more natural, like I've said earlier in the video. Kind of my preference. If you want a bit more sub-bass extension and a kind of a brighter sound, the KS2s are probably the one for you. And these are slightly harder to power than the KS1s, a little bit. But yeah, so really, I'll just, as I say, nearly 7 minutes long. So my opinion is, shame there's no revised Lark to test with. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And I kind of prefer the KS1. Again, they're both V-shaped, but this one didn't sound as aggressive either end of the spectrum. Obviously, it still has it, but the KS2 is a little bit more. It's a little bit brighter, a little bit more sub-bass extension. And yeah, that's it really. Kind of very straightforward earphones. Hopefully one day I will try the Believe from KBEAR, which is the brilliant one. But you need like a power station to run it. But that's different kind of video. But hopefully I can try the Believe one day. And yeah, for the price point, I think these are good. Same as the Lark. The price themselves very well in a kind of congested marketplace, but I think yeah, the KS1s and the KS2s, they perform quite well. They got competition for like the Blon 01 and the Blon 03, Tin T1 Plus. They're all in this kind of same kind of ballpark, plus their own KBO4, I think, and KBO6, but I've never tried those. And also, obviously, there's two new blonde models coming up. I don't know what they're going to cost. They probably will cost more than these because they're metal. But we'll see. But yeah, I kind of prefer the KS1. But the KS2 isn't a bad model. I just kind of prefer the same signature of the KS1. And yeah, anything as usual, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. Take care.